it will not be, very inspiring for us to read it on regular basis. Other books, we may read it out of material interest for some time, but after some time, that material interest goes away. So we have to understand the value of these books, first of all. So we should understand that these books are not ordinary books. They are transcendental sound vibration. It has a potency to completely create a revolution in our impious life. So with that understanding, we have to actually take to reading of Srila Prabhupada's books. There is a very nice shloka. All of you must have read this shloka many times. And right in the beginning of the preface, Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Tat vag visargo janatag viplavo yasmin prati shlokam abhatvatyapi namani anantasya yasho ankitani yat sharmanti gayanti gananti sadhavaha. So, tatvak visargo, this is also a creation of different words. But this is a different kind of creation. Janata means for the people. Agha, because people in this material world by nature, we commit sinful activities. So we are impious in our life. Agha viplavo. So it will create a revolution in our impious life. Yasmin prati shlokam. Every word, every stanza, every sentence, abhatvati, even if it is not regularly or properly composed, even though still, if it contains glorification of namani anantasya yat yasho ankitani, if it is containing the glorification of names, pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it is heard, it is chanted, it is accepted by great personalities. So, these books are not ordinary, first of all, we have to understand. Srila Prabhupada took so much trouble practically to translate these books. He worked so hard day and night, translate it for all of us. I just sent one link to Kishore. I do not know if he. Yeah. He can share it with others. It's very nice where Prabhupada is asking devotees, are you reading my books regularly? So, very important that we should try to read Prabhupada's books regularly. One of the very important aspect, Prabhupada differentiates Krishna consciousness from even other bona fide sampradayas and people who are also striving for God consciousness, is that Prabhupada stressed so much on reading these important books. He says that over a period of time, if you don't read, if you don't hear these transcendental topics, then whatever Prabhupada has given, it will become like a burden. So there is a very famous class in which Prabhupada talks about Shri Vigraha and Galagraha. It becomes a burden in the neck. Whatever different duties are given to us, rising early in the morning, dressing the deities, offering bhoga to the deities, attending morning sadhana, Bhagavatam class, darshanarti. If reading is removed from this, then over a period of time, it will look like a burden. So if we want to create burden for the future generation, then we can neglect reading or hearing. Otherwise, it's a very, very important thing. So first we have to realize this importance of what Prabhupada has given. And then some practical tips is like we do, at least I try to do in whatever way. I try to set a regular schedule for reading. Just like I remember in when I had come last to US and I was along with all of you, I met Vikram Krishna Prabhu and I was asking him about certain meetings, how to conduct different meetings for the devotees, because he has very good experiences in conducting meetings and other things. So he came up with a very nice, which I had practically not heard, because actually after my college I had directly joined. I never worked outside, so I did not have that practical experience. So he was telling me there is something called as um, what is the word, Vikram Krishna Prabhu, you used that there is a
Rhythm of business.
regular
ROB, rhythm of business, they call it.
rhythm of business. So he said rhythm is very important. So by his good advice, now I have rhythm of meetings in our temples. So we have very regular, different meetings, meetings for our different departments, meeting for bhaktas, meeting devotees regularly. So thank you very much, Vikram Krishna Prabhu, for giving that good idea. So similarly, if we understand, you make a rhythm of reading also, some kind of regular schedule of reading. This rhythm should not be weekly or monthly. Meetings you can have weekly, meetings you can have monthly like that, or in a quarter of month. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. This rhythm is given in Bhagavatam itself, that every day we should read. And that's how you find Srila Prabhupada incorporated that in our schedule in Krishna consciousness. Every day, Prabhupada said, morning and evening, no other business. Simply hear. Don't become a bigger Paramahamsa than your Guru, Prabhupada used to say. So he used to say that even I hear the classes of my own disciples. Prabhupada used to sit and see how they're giving classes, how they're talking. So make a regular schedule, just like we have a regular schedule for eating and sleeping. Practically without fail, we eat and we sleep. Somehow or other, we adjust time. Even if it becomes late, we go, we take our meals, and then we go to rest. Isn't it? Similarly for sleeping, like even though there is a time gap if we travel from one country to another, and then you have that lag is there, jet lag. But in spite of that, somehow or other, we try to cover that jet lag by taking some rest, isn't it? So similarly, we should make a regular schedule for our reading also. This is like very important supplement for our spiritual life. Rather, most important supplement. Shravanam and Kirtanam is considered, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, they are, jala, which is required to, for Bhakti Lata, regular Shravanam and Kirtanam is required for nourishing our Bhakti Lata. So, this is one important thing. Another important thing which I find useful and practical is if you can make some groups for reading over a period of time, when we develop little maturity, when we understand the importance, then it may not be required. But in the beginning, for beginners at least, it is very important that, see, there are two ways. There are only two ways which work. Either you have an attraction, natural attraction, which is called raga, or another is called sadhana. Some kind of little force or some kind of discipline is required. There are only two ways. Suppose somebody is not coming for Mangalarati. So there are two ways. Either there is an attraction for coming for sadhana that will pull him, or some force you have to apply. So similarly, till we come to that stage where we realize that actually everyday reading is very important, we can have reading in the groups. I remember in our olden times, we used to have that RDUA session. It is called reading, and then I think it was called discovery, then understanding, and then applying. So in a group we can read. Somebody reads regularly. Let us say one paragraph somebody reads, and then we discover what are the important points in this. We try to understand, and we try to apply that in our life. So these two things are actually very important: understanding and applying. Because if we don't understand and if we don't apply in our life, it will become only theoretical. And theoretical, uh, the taste will not last for a very long time. When you read, you understand, and when you apply in your life, that actually will give you real taste for going on to read more and more. So if we understand this, that actually Prabhupada's books are his deep ecstasies in Krishna consciousness, his great compassion for all the living entities, and simply with these words, which are so powerful, that if we can read them regularly, it can definitely inspire us. I have seen that even devotees sometimes, when they are in certain kind of depression because of certain situations in their life, uh, especially, of course, grahastas and others, if they start reading Prabhupada's books regularly, very soon they can come out of, because these words are so potent, filled with so much energy, that they can take us out of all kinds of material platform. Sorry. So in that way, if we can develop, try to read it in a group. And another important thing which I find is, if you can read and at the same time try to preach, these two things will go hand in hand. We should read, take down some notes, and at the same time we should try to preach whenever we find an opportunity. It becomes imprinted. These teachings will become imprinted in our mind. Vikram Prabhu may remember that in Bangalore, there was one student, a graduate student, who had studied all 10 cantos, but he was not even chanting one single round. He had studied full Bhagavatam thoroughly. So that intellectual reading is not important. Simply reading is not important. We have to read, we have to understand, and reading also should be in a proper mood when we are reading. So whatever we are reading in a very prayerful mood, we just like we always create a context before we do activity. Before we eat prasadam, we chant that prayer. Sharira Vidya Jal Janendriya Tahe Kal. Right? We create a mood. Similarly, before reading, if we create that mood, just like before reciting Bhagavatam, isn't it? We pray. There are certain prayers we do. So that also works out very nicely that we approach these books with a prayerful mood. So certain practical things which worked out for me, I am just relating. I think these can help. And if somebody else has some other good point which can benefit me also, you can share. Anyone has any other good point? Vikram Prabhu has any other suggestion?
No, Prabhu, this what you said about setting up a time, like we are all
Hmm.
doing 50 minutes reading in the evening together, just to create some version of the sandwich program. And just
Okay,
that in
okay.
that 15 minutes in 2 years and 1 month, we completed the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Really, very good.
You know, just the power, like you said, we have to really do this on a regular basis. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
Very inspiring. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Then the second one, how can we identify our own anarthas and work on eradicating them? This is very interesting and very important in devotees' life. See, from my practical experience, very, very important. Anarthas on our own, you cannot recognize. Very, 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 very difficult. Maya is so great that even if we have anarthas, it is very difficult. Our anarthas, very difficult to identify. Others, even if there are smaller mistakes, immediately Maya will, you know, propel us that we try to find faults in others. We will have greatest of the mistakes. There is a saying, we are the best lawyers for ourselves and the best judge for others. When it comes to judging others, we are the best judge. Fatafat, we make judgments. And when it comes to defending ourselves from mistakes we commit, we are the best lawyer. We'll give the best kinds of arguments. So, if we can recognize this, that it is not possible for us until and unless we are so humble that I can find out, introspect. Sometimes we say we should introspect, we should introspect. What introspection we will do? Introspection, we will never find out our own fault. It is very difficult. Maya will always convince us that we are right, others are wrong. So that is not exactly the way to find out our anarthas. Anarthas are pointed out in association of devotees. So if we can identify and understand this fact that it is a blessing that I am in association of devotees. Otherwise, in the outside world, it is I scratch your back, you scratch my back. That's all actually is going on. So, in association of devotees, it is very easy that devotees will be able to figure out our different kinds of anarthas. In my own practical life, I remember, right quite in the beginning when I was quite aggressive. I think I have related also sometimes this in some of my other classes also, that I used to think that I was very sincere And if some devotee was sleeping, I would sometime get up even in the Bhagavatam class and point out why devotees are sleeping, why they are not serious. I think Vikram Prabhu was also there in that. You were there, Vikram Prabhu, in that meeting where then later on MPP chastised me.
I don't remember, Prabhu, but I've heard you recounting it, and it's very inspiring for all of us.
Okay, that was the old temple.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you joined when you in the new temple.
No, bro, I joined in 94, Old Temple itself. 94 May I joined.
Acha, yeah, acha, 94, no?
Yeah.
So then it was there, no? I think you were there. You would. Then the whole Ishtogoshti was on that. So otherwise it is not possible. You see, I was thinking that I'm very sincere. Very simple thing I was able to understand was, see, otherwise it was not possible for me to realize. He said, what is your business? It may be he's sleeping or not sleeping. What is your business? Isn't it? It's not your business. So that is what I was able to understand. So in association of devotees, we should be humble enough to find out that actually there are anarthas. There is one Hindi poet. He says, in one of his shloka, that the people who simply glorify are actually our worst enemies. And people who criticize us actually are our best friends. And such people, we should keep them near because they'll be able to point out your faults and then we can try to work on it. So it's a fact actually that it is only through others that we can find out our anarthas. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult. So, in association of devotees, we find that these anarthas come out quite quickly. And then, if we work on it and we remain humble, then definitely, it is possible that we will be able to come out of these anarthas. And of course, uh, as it is described by Rupa Goswami, our process itself is so great that if we follow the process, Adhav Shraddha, Tata Sadhusanga, Atha Bhajana Kriya, and then Anartha Nivritti will happen. So, if we can work on Bhajana Kriya properly, hearing, chanting, this is our whole process is called Bhajana Kriya. Whatever process we are following, whether it is reading, attending program, or attending Srimad Bhagavatam class, this is all Bhajana Kriya, different limbs of devotional service, whatever we are practicing. The more we practice them properly, the result will be Anartha Nivriti will happen. All our anarthas definitely will be going out. So there is no other separate process required that you have to pull out your anartha. If we can recognize them in association of devotee, pray to the Lord and follow the process, then anarthas will go out. Otherwise, I don't see that there is any other separate method that we can pull out our anarthas. Anarthas, without mercy of Krishna, there is no possibility. Even with our own endeavor, we cannot remove these anarthas. So, this process of devotional service is so potent that these anarthas will definitely go out. Anybody else would like to give any other uh, suggestions in this?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam,
Yes.
Prabhupada.
Very good.
Prabhu, I have a question, Prabhu. So how do
Yeah.
we know whether we are, where do we draw the line actually when we are pointing out some mistakes on, some devotees? You said that other devotees will be like your friend when they are pointing out the mistakes about you. But the person who is pointing out, how does that person know whether they are um, genuinely pointing out, or it's a habit, or it has become their habit, and just keep pointing out the mistake on others?
Okay, very good, very good. Very nice question. And very important when we are living in the association of devotees. It is good. Somebody has written that we should go to senior devotees and ask their inputs. It's very nice. That is also very good. So, what we should do is very important. See, we should point out mistakes only if we are convinced that actually I have no other ulterior motive. My only motive is for the welfare of that other devotee. That is what matters. That is number one. Your motivation behind trying to find out somebody's fault. Second is, do you have the authority to find his faults? Or do you have good equation with that other person that you go and tell him his fault? If you tell him his faults and you don't have good equation with him, and he becomes angry or he does not take it properly, he starts having grudges with us, then actually by pointing out mistake, we have done a harm to him rather than doing a good to him. Because mistakes to be pointed out if it can help him. Otherwise, what is the use of pointing out the mistake if it cannot help him? So, when the mistake is pointed out among equals as a friendly relation, when you are convinced that I have a very good relation and I can tell him and he will not mind it, so then definitely there is no issue at all. You can, in the welfare of the other person, you can go and point out, Prabhu, I feel, please don't take it otherwise. So there, you should be convinced that the other person, you have such a good relation, he will not take it negatively and he will not keep a grudge with him for this. And you will not strain your relationship with him by that. If you do not have, then it is better to go and reveal. Uh, if you feel that yes, it is required, I should not go and tell directly because that will not have a good effect. Better to go and tell somebody who can direct him, whom he will listen to, whom he will abide by. So we go and tell that authority, and and that too with good intention. And then after that, we take it out of our mind. Now it is the job of that authority to look into that matter, and we forget that completely. So, as you said, when we go to others and somebody is finding out mistakes in us, when it is pointed towards us, there are two things. One is any mistake, whatever it is being pointed out, first we take it positively that yes, it is a criticism and it is, I will not be able to understand how am I doing, what am I doing, my mistakes. If somebody has pointed it out, it is well and good. So internally we work on it, but externally sometimes it is required if we find that it has become a habit of the devotee, that simply he keeps on pointing out even small things as a mistake, that we meet him and we understand what he wants to say, we clarify to him, we talk to him, and most of the misunderstanding can go away with lots of communication. It is very important. Even the worst and worst of the enemy, if you can open your heart, sit with him, maybe it may take hours together, there is a very good chance that those misunderstandings will definitely go away. So we take it positively, any mistake, whoever may have pointed it out. But sometimes externally, suppose you are in a senior position, he is in a junior position, and it's a fact that junior is not required to point out a mistake of the senior. It is not etiquette in Vaishnavas, this thing. So there we can explain that actually it is good that you have pointed out, but it's not a good Vaishnava etiquette that you keep only seeing the faults of others. I do admit that yes, I have a mistake. Others also will have different kinds of faults. Everybody has a fault, isn't it? So we should address that issue also. But for ourselves, so there are two things. One is, as a in a society, certain etiquette is required. We address that also, isn't it? Let us say, for example, if I go and point out whatever, with my misunderstanding, I point out a mistake in my seniors. It's not a good. There are his seniors. They should point out his mistakes. I am not in a position to point out mistakes of my seniors, isn't it? So in that sense, when let us say somebody is junior to me, he is pointing out my mistake, I still take it properly. That does not matter whether he is a junior or senior. Somehow or other, it has come from someone. I may not have realized, but it is good. So internally, I work on that. I am humble. I accept it. I am not proud. Why? Who is this fellow? He is so junior to me. Who is he, to point out? But at the same time, to maintain a good etiquette in the society, we do preach to him. Either we preach to him, or if it is required, we take him to more senior, and we, make him to understand that it is not good like this to find out this fault finding mistake. We should be like honeybees. We should not be like housefly, isn't it? So those things are also important. So that was a good thing, good observation. Anybody else has any other? So, okay, I'll go to the next aspect of it. Any suggestions on how to avoid it? First, if we understand and realize that actually Vaishnava Aparad is the greatest impediment in devotional service. If we can understand that actually it is the greatest impediment for our devotional progress, it will block Prabhupada's mercy, it will block Krishna's mercy for us. So if we understand the seriousness of that, just like we see Amrish Maharaj was being offended by such a great personality like Durvasa Muni. But nobody could protect Durvasa Muni. So if we understand the seriousness of that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu calls it as Hati Mat. It is like a mad elephant offense. So this is something which we should be very careful about. So what constitutes Vaishnava Aparadh? Question arises. Criticizing, speaking ill of others without understanding their situation, without understanding their intent, blaspheming them, trying to find out faults with them. This will all constitute different kinds of Vaishnava Aparadh. When we have seniors, we fail to offer our respect to them. We don't abide by what they say, our authorities. This all constitute Vaishnava Aparadh. So there are different ways how we deal with different devotees. Our superior, there is a different method. Our equals, there is a different method. Our inferior, there is a different method. So Narad Muni advises that for the superior, it should be always with seva. It should always be with service. With our equal, it should be maitri. We should always have friendship with them. And to our inferiors, it should not be exploitation, it should be daya. It should be mercy for them. So if we learn different aspects of, otherwise we will remain in Kanishtadhikari stage. Difference between Kanishta, Madhyama and Uttama is that Kanishta does not know how to behave with different people altogether. He takes them all in one stride and he thinks, I am there, Krishna is there, that's all. Nobody else is there. So he has no idea how to deal with how to deal with advanced people, how to deal with equals, how to deal with juniors. So this we should learn in the association of devotees, how to deal with different kinds of devotees. So when we don't deal, that all constitute offenses. If we don't deal, if we are in association of advanced people, we fail to offer even our respect, we don't abide by what they say. So that all constitutes different kinds of offenses. Hindering somebody in doing their services and trying to obstruct somebody's services some way or other because of our enviousness, harboring some resentment. I remember that sometimes in our old temple, one devotee was in charge of DT services, another devotee was in charge of PPH, and both of them had some kind of confrontation. So this devotee required some milk to be offered to the DT. But see, the resentment can be in such a way that the devotee did not give milk from PPH. He said, you get your own milk. This PPH milk is meant for some other purpose. Why should I give to your department? I cannot give to your department. So you can imagine, it can go to such an extent that sometimes service we may hamper because it is under my department and I cannot give. You, today your milk is spoiled. You go and purchase from the market. I have the milk. I can give you, but I'll not give you. Right? So these are all, some kind of competitive spirit, some, unhealthy competitive spirit, enviousness, harboring some kind of resentment, or sometimes in devotees association, we are duplicitous. Inside, we are something, outside, we speak something, on the back, we speak something. Devotees are actually very straightforward. Not that outside I'm something, inside I'm something. So this will all lead to offenses. And then if you're in a position where actually you are given a service to take care of the devotees and you neglect to take care of the devotees, services and other things, all these constitute different kinds of offenses. So these are all Vaishnava Aparadh. And how to avoid them? By understanding the gravity of Vaishnava Aparadh. And most important thing is to cultivate humility as we progress in Krishna consciousness. Progressing in Krishna consciousness means actually progressing in humility. The more we become advanced, the more we will become humble. So the more there is less chance of offending devotees. So if we are advancing, actually we will not offend devotees. If we are offending devotees, that means actually we are not advancing. So we have to cultivate humility. And whenever we are speaking, especially, see, mind, it may be difficult that in Kali Yuga, we may sometime offend in our mind. That may be by, Vaishnava's grace, it is possible that mind offenses may not be taken very, very seriously. But the offenses in the mind can lead to physical or verbal offenses. So verbal offenses, physical offenses, we should be very mindful about. That is very important. So it is better that even in the mind we cultivate, not to offend a devotee. Otherwise, sometimes if we think that it does not matter, Kali Yuga, in the mind, if I offend somebody, it may not matter. It may be pardoned. But very soon, whatever is there in the mind, it will come out either in the speech or it will come out, physically. So it is better to avoid whatever we say. We should. There is a saying, Satyam bruyet, priyam bruyet. Even if it is fact, even if it is something which is truth, it should be brought out very, very, in a way it does not hurt somebody. Priyam. So, in that way, it should be palatable. Truth should be spoken in a palatable way. That is, that art we have to learn in association of devotees. And if we find that we have done offenses to somebody, sincerely we should apologize. Not that because my authority is told I'm coming to you and vancha kalpatribhyascha kripa sindhubheva, externally we do, some kind of, we say that sorry or forgiveness, we beg for forgiveness. It should be sincere apology. And uh, you know if we cultivate attitude of service to the devotees, then definitely it is very possible that we will, even if we have committed mistake, we can apologize sincerely. I was recently reading about Jada Bharat and Rahuguna. So Rahuguna committed one of the greatest of the blunders by speaking harshly to uh, Rahuguna, spoke very harshly to Jada Bharat. He made him to carry his palanquin just like an ordinary man. And there Prabhupada points out the good quality in Rahuguna was immediately he understood his offenses, he paid his obeisances, and asked for forgiveness. So this is very important. So if we can ask for forgiveness, then very good possibility that we'll be able to avoid such kind of uh, offenses in the future. And just like Rupa Goswami has advised, prajalpa we should avoid unnecessary gossips. In the gossips, what happens? That is the meaning of gossips. We speak unnecessary things. We just mind our business and our service. Then, once you avoid this unnecessary gossip, then in our words, at least, we will not be offending devotees like that. So, I think these are some of the things which we can do to avoid offenses. Anybody has any good suggestion? If I have missed out something which we can, you know, do.
Uh, Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please.
Yeah, this is Kumu Gupta from Boston.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, yeah. So my 2 points are kind of a little bit off topic, but one of them is kind of related. Can
Okay.
you, and you don't have to answer it now, maybe you can do it at the end of the session. Can you speak about the finding of the Krishna Nagari under the water? The whole, Mathura, I think, in Mathura, they found such thing, the whole city was there. So if you can, say something about that. And then also the second question is kind of offshoot of this one, that how come all the religious institutions, like for example, even the Ayodhya Ram Mandir, the Ayodhya Ram Mandir was, I believe, built by Kush, by Ramji's son in the 12th century. And then it got destroyed, and the Muslims, the Babur, he came, and it became Babri Masjid and all that.
Mm.
So we have always been taught that, there are certain rules, like when you go to temple, you have to take your shoes out. If you destroy or put your foot, if your foot touches the god statue, like Krishna statue, any statue, then it is almost, you can die from it, like, like, you know what I mean, like, you're not supposed, there's a line, you don't cross that. So how come that when all these temples, like Babri Masjid, like all these temples, even the Somnath temple was looted by Ghazni, and he's a Muslim invader. So how come nothing happened to them and they became famous in history, and we are suffering, like it took so many centuries for that Ram Mandir to come back up again?
Okay. So Prabhupada explains some fundamental reasons behind this. One is Prabhupada explains that it is just like parents they are responsible for the protection of their children. When the Lord takes the form of a Vigraha, he becomes dependent on the devotee for their services. It is imperative for devotees to take care of the deities in the temple. So, there is a kind of reciprocation the Lord has in the form of a deity, wherein he is taken care by the deities, by the pujaris, by the devotees in the temple. Even though he is Atma Ram, he does not require anyone's service. It's an opportunity the Lord gives in that form. So, at the time when the Sanatana Dharma deteriorated to an extent wherein the devotees were not taking proper care of the deities of the different kinds of temples. So definitely, the deterioration in the society will also happen simultaneously. And once again, when we are seeing that, people are realizing, understanding their different mistakes, and now we are seeing that, devotees are again trying to reinstate the principles of Sanatana Dharma. So, in one way, the deterioration happens because of our mistakes. It's not that the Lord allows that. The Lord sanctions that because we are also at fault. We did not just to give an example, the society became so degraded that they were discriminating people on the bodily platform. Brahmana is not a Brahmana according to birth, but it became in the Vedic society became so deteriorated at that time that Brahmanas were claiming to be Brahmana just by wearing a thread. They were not doing the work of a Brahmana. They were not having the quality or qualification of a Brahmana. And they were discriminating people just because somebody was born in Shudra family. And so much of disparity and, that Achut Pratha came in Sanatana Dharma, which is nowhere mentioned in the Vedic literature. So the society became so degraded in that sense. Degradation started from this Brahman. This Kali Yuga, it is said, degradation starts from this uh, unauthorized, non bona fide Brahmanas. And this Krishna consciousness will come out as a saving, uh, you know, that somehow or other slowly, once again, the Satyuga will start after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started this Sankirtana movement. So it is reviving once again. So in that sense, if we see that, uh, there is a reason behind the whole degradation. That is only in a very short essence. Maybe in some other class when we have, I will keep it in mind when in the next session. Probably you can post this question in your group, and then I will try to answer it more elaborately. Vikram Prabhu, is it already time? I think. Just check.
Yes, Prabhu. Time for Darshanarthi here.
Isn't it?
Yes, Prabhu.
So yeah, I think I'm sorry I could not answer all the questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your association, Prabhu. Looking forward to seeing you more often soon.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Dandavad Pranam.
Hare, Hare Krishna. Dandavat, all the devotees. Thank you very much. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu.